Hey guys, how you doing? My name's Llama and welcome back to episode 5 of the 10,000 Gold Before Wrath of the Lich King challenge. Now, first things first, I do want to apologise that this episode's a little bit late coming out. It has been about a week since the previous episode, and that is because I went away last weekend and then I've simply been working since I got back, so the amount of actual playtime I've had has been minimal, never mind the capacity to then make a video out from it. That being said, I did manage to get a few farms in, and I have this morning managed to get a little bit of a weekly recap done for us. So let's dive in with what I did manage to get done. And the first thing that we managed to do was head up to Netherstorm and attempt to farm some primal mana. Now, I didn't think that this was going to be a particularly effective farm for me, because I'm using an undead rogue and I rely on my cannibalism to be able to sustain myself. It was always going to be a case of having to get food, or I wasn't going to be able to kill the mobs quick enough, or it could be oversaturated, and there was all sorts of things that could go wrong. But I like to be a bit more varied in these videos for you guys, so I thought I'd give it a try. And it was absolutely awful. I did manage to get a few mobs, and that was about it. It was very heavily contested by people who were a lot better farming classes than me on my rogue. And even when I was able to get mobs and kill them, the killing of the mobs was reasonably simple and straightforward, and I didn't actually really need any form of downtime, to be honest. However, I did find that they just simply weren't dropping enough for it to be viable. Admittedly, a proper test for viability, I would have been here a little bit longer, but in truth, it was just that poor that I felt I was better off leaving and making better use of my time elsewhere. After that farm, the next time I had the opportunity to play, I was cracking on with the levelling of my Shaman. I am really hopeful that this Shaman's worth the time investment in terms of being able to make this gold before this challenge, because of course it is eating into the amount of time that I could be farming the gold. However, it's already started to make quite a bit of money for me in the form of its jewel crafting. After I noticed that tin ore on my auction house was incredibly cheap and I could prospect it for massive profit. Now, I don't think I have any footage of that. Editing James will let you know. It'll be on the screen if he does. But I was able to purchase tin ore for practically nothing on my realm, and then I was able to sell the gems I was getting for as much as 5 gold a time, which is absolutely ludicrous. So it's already coming into its own, so I didn't mind investing the little bit of time I wanted to into my Shaman. So I did a few quests with somebody that I found, I did a few dungeons, and I made a little bit of gold along the way. But enough said about that. Next up, we went back into mana tombs. Now, at this point is when I started to realise that I was running a little bit low on our auction house value, and I decided that this was the best place to come and try and pick that battle cup. Not only because it gives us a lot of items that are our best sellers in this challenge, as well as also the highest gold per hour farm that I have found by a long way so far, but also it gives us the potential to fill up our auction house with things that are a bit more random, like BOE blues or the adamantite that we can smell into the hardened adamantite bars, that are going to sit there for a little bit longer and bring that value back up for long-term sales, as opposed to simply just throwing things up and getting sales instantly, which is obviously very good. But generally speaking, that is when you start to find yourself making rather small profits compared to something a bit more sustained. So in this particular farm, we are able to get ourselves a lot of ores, a lot of greens that we can disenchant and things like that are going to sell really quickly. But there is all the potential for BOE blues, which we were actually fortunate enough to get one as well when we were doing this farm, that will sit on the auction house for a little while, but they're a nice hefty chunk of gold when they do eventually sell, and it's where you start building up that bit of a portfolio on the auction house, so that's why we went back to this one next. And our final farm that we did since our last episode was once again going back to Legion Hold, because it's such a steady farm for us and one that I think is going to be a staple of this challenge. Grinding out all of those marks of Sargeras and fell armaments, which I have seen have had a notable increase in popularity on the auction house currently, due to the fact I imagine that we've had the announcement to say that Sunwell Plateau is coming soon, which means that those lovely necklaces that have the procs when you are exalted with Aldor or Scryers are going to be put into the game. People are doing their research, finding out about this, and as a result looking to get their characters up to exalted with those respective factions, increasing the amount of sales on the rep items for them. Now, I don't particularly have knowledge of an excellent farm to do the arcane tomes, certainly not in the same way that I do the fell armaments, but that is something that I'll be looking into before our next episode, because they are currently selling, while a lot slower, they're also selling for a lot higher amounts on my realm, so it is one that I'll be looking forward to going into as well. But for now, let's move over to Auction House and see how we get on this episode. Okay, so you join me now on my bank character where we can take a look at how much gold we currently stand on. So first things first, as you can see up in the corner here, 5,864 gold in liquid gold at this point, which is quite a big step up over where we were before, and I am very happy about it, especially considering that I've actually only played about 4 days of the last 7 since you guys will have seen the last episode, give or take. So I'm really happy that we're making such a great increase. However, when we take a look at the auction house, we can see it's looking a little bit different here. So we are looking currently at 713 gold in our auction house value, which is a little bit lower than about that 1k mark that we've been sat at most of the time. Now, of course, this is because we've sold most of the things, well, at least a good chunk of the things that we had on here, and that's where our extra golds come from, and I haven't had the playtime to be able to play enough to restock everything. But if we have a quick look at what we've got, we are looking at Flash of Blinding Light, which we got a few extras of. We always craft up to 3, but we got 2 procs, so we are looking at 5 currently. We've got some thick spider silk, we've got a couple of BOE blues, our Thundercaller's gauntlets that we got, and our Sky Striker bow, which are going to add a nice little chunk to our market value, although they are very much subject to actually selling. So we'll have to see how we get on with those. A couple of elixirs and mighty trollbloods potions. We did craft a few extra items through alchemy, looking for slightly lower level items with some procs to see if we can make some money that way, which we'll have a look when we have a look at our ledger in just a moment. Some arcane tomes and fell armaments. The fell armaments we got in our Legion Hold farm, and our arcane tome that we actually got from running a dungeon. We still got our Zap Throttle Motor Extractor, not looking like it's going to sell, but it is a very low sell rate, so we're just hoping that one day that will just shift by its own accord. Elixir Draining Wisdom, Marks of Sargeras, Adamantite Ore, Flask Fortification. Nothing overly different compared to last time. But now, if we take a quick look at our TSM accounting, so as you can see with this nice graph here, we have made quite a chunk of gold in the last few days, but as you can see before, we didn't really play. So that's why that leveled off for a little bit. But if we go over to our ledger and check our revenue, so I've set this already to be just our auctions in the last 7 days. Scroll down to the bottom first. And as you can see, 4 days, 13 hours ago, even though it got set to 7 days, that's because we just didn't play in the time before. So what have we got on here? Got our flasks. We'll skip over flasks. We know that they make up the vast majority of our sales, as well as some of the excess mana thistle that we had to get when we had to get an awkward size stack. Sold some silk cloth. We sold some jade, which is actually quite interesting. We got a lot of these while we were leveling on our shaman, but we also discovered that the prospecting value of tin ore on our server was about 3 times the amount of the value that I could buy the tin ore for. And that came to fruition when we prospected quite a bit. We got a load of jade, we got a load of moss agates and things like that. And while these are really low level items, they actually sold really well and for really good value on my realm. That one there, as you can see, clearly not 85 silver when I've got a market value of 1 gold 21. We'll have to take a look at some of these settings, but it did sell nonetheless, and that is still going to be dramatic amounts of profit. Strong Troll's Blood Potion, again, like I was saying, we've invested a little bit into some low level alchemy crafts to see if we can make some money on that, especially with the procs. Anything that had a profit margin that I thought might actually sell was crafted, so that then we could make a few procs along the way. We've got some primal mana here. I think we've actually only got the one that we attempted to farm up in Netherstorm, only to find it to be, well, very inefficient as far as the farm goes, at least for me. Then moving on up, we then have some silver ores, some core stones, measuring cloth, lesser moonstone, again acquired from that tin ore that we got, again sold for quite a bit lower than market value. We'll have to take a look at that. Critical Planar Essence, selling for decent money. Arcane Dust, Large Brilliant Shards. These are obviously things that have been thrown up after we've done our Mana Tombs farm, got a few greens and disenchanted them. Again as well, Scrolls of Agility and Intellect, the ones that we pick up when we are doing our Mana Tombs farm, they come out of the chests for us. Elixir of Mongoose, which was one of the ones that we were saying we were crafting with our low level alchemy. Actually sold quite a lot of these. I imagine there's some more further up. I made some decent money off of it as well. Was a really good goal maker for us back when we did our challenge before TBC's launch, but it's nice to see that it's still got a decent margin on it now. Moving on up, Hardened Adamantite Bar. Finally remembered to actually smith one. as opposed to just selling the adamantite ore. So that was nice, little victory for me there. Elixir of Major Fortitude. Major mana potions, again, things that we're picking up while leveling. Elixirs of Healing Power. Primal Earth that we get along the way with our mining. Fell Lotus. Awful lot of things here that are just making up tiny amounts for us. Some silver ores. Again, more moss agates and jades. As you can see, this one's sold well over market value. And those are ones that, again, were acquired with that prospecting of the tin ore. Elixir of Major Frost Power. Flasks, more pearls, more lesser moonstones and jades. I really am looking forward to continuing with that whole prospecting farm. I will need to level up the jewel crafting to be able to move a little further. Tin is actually the biggest I can do on that character. I have fallen behind a little bit there, so we'll have to try and make our way back up with that. An awful lot of low value sales, but they are adding up when you see the amounts of them that we're shifting. They're all sub 1 gold, but selling them all in stacks of 5 and selling them 2 and 3 at a time, you know, it does start to add up. Moss agates selling, as you see here, sold 11 of them, and per item we're looking at 5 gold each. We made some crazy money off of that. Clearly made some sort of error here selling some of the tin ores. Not actually bad market value that we were getting off them though, but as you can see we could have made a lot more by prospecting them. Super mana potions, some corium ores. Noble Topaz, that was one that we got while mining, so that was pretty nice. And we did also get a Dawnstone. I can't remember actually which way around they came. One of them was from mining, one of them was actually a drop when we were up at Legion Hold. Another Scroll of Agility, which is really nice. It's great when you get those drop for you. They do sell so well. I imagine that their price is going to plummet next expansion when they're able to be crafted, but in the meantime we may as well enjoy it. Moving on up, and again finishing off with some flasks like we often do. So obviously the plan from here, we do need to start restocking our auction house. We've got a lot of great sales since the last time that you saw, but we are now looking a little bit light and we need to get back on with some crafting and some farming. So that's the plan for the next episode. I hope you join me for the next episode, but for now guys, thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Laters.